So when last I left off, Wally West um, had just exploded and killed a bunch of heroes, over a dozen. The explosion would just kind of emanated energy rather than actually exploding. So he was fine. He just kind of boom killed a bunch of people. Now he's trying to release their confessions in pieces as redemption. I don't get it. But one of the bodies found at Sanctuary happens to be Wally West. So, how is there a dead body of Wally West? Well, because what Wally West did was he traveled 5 days into the future and murdered himself. That way he could plant the body there, removing suspicion from himself. Again, the story is created so you couldn't possibly figure out who was the murderer, the cause. Now, why he didn't just release all that information at once, I don't know. But he felt the desire to release it slowly over the course of 5 days. And I still don't know what happens because I guess maybe it's supposed to create a loop so that, because after 5 days, wouldn't the past Flash catch up and then kill him? And I don't know. I don't know. He just wanted to release this information. So why did Wally West have all these issues? Now I'm trying to think back, it's draw on my memory, but I believe what it was that Wally West at one point had been removed from continuity, and he had been brought back, um, and it was a lot of fans were really happy to see the original Wally West brought back. The problem was because he was brought back from continuity, but not other things related to him, including his children. So his children, they didn't die, they just ceased to exist. They were never born. He never got married. Um, I can imagine that that would be pretty traumatic. The problem is, I don't think when you're creating a series where you're addressing mental health issues, you should make the basis of it a pure fantasy, such as being removed from continuity and then being brought back, and the effects that has on you. And he didn't even delve that much into it. It's a 9-issue series. They could have, but that wasn't what the series was even focused on. The series was more focused on who done it. It was focused on Harley Quinn. I'm not a fan of Harley Quinn, and the problem is that the concept I think is fine. It's the execution that I hate. And this one is probably perhaps the worst because she's so darn strong for a non-superpowered character. At one point in here, she gets the best of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how stupid it was to have something like that happen. But that's what the series was focused on. Harley Quinn doing her dumb things. Who's the killer? All sorts of different things. Um, and not really addressing Wally West and his mental issues. If King had focused on one hero and said, okay, this hero is suffering from mental issues due to, even something as bizarre as being removed and then reinstated into continuity. I think you could have had something there. But to say that all the heroes, from Superman down to the D-level hero that's no longer used anymore, is, I think, ridiculous. So, a group of heroes and one villain discover what he's doing. This includes Harley Quinn, well, I guess two villains. Harley Quinn, Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, Batgirl, Poison Ivy. They discover what Wally West is trying to do. And so they decide to help him. I mean, you could kind of say, well, Wally West is out of his goddamn mind. That's why he's doing this stuff. That's why he thinks that releasing people's private confessions, which were never intended to be released, God knows why they were recorded in the first place. But apparently all those characters also thought that he was doing the right thing. They weren't happy with what he did, and they particularly weren't happy with the fact that he was trying to frame Harley Quinn and Booster Gold. At one point, I mean, as if it weren't bad enough that he killed these characters, he was desecrating their bodies. He took, I think it was Chattering Teeth, and jammed it down the throat of Commander Steel to frame Harley Quinn. Okay, wow, our hero. So they're not happy with Wally West, and I think Booster Gold like punches him in the mouth or something like that. I can't remember now, but and I could not figure out how this was supposed to work. Basically, Booster Gold goes to the 25th century, creates a clone of Wally West, and kills it. And brings it back so that they have a body. And I don't even understand now. Don't they have two bodies? How does that? I don't understand what that was supposed to do. I tried reading through it multiple times, and it was painful because I didn't like reading through it once, trying to figure out what in the world that was supposed to do. But apparently what it did was it allowed Wally West to continue to live. And in the end, Sanctuary is shown to be back up and running, and Wally West the Flash is in prison in his costume. The explosion was obviously I think it was a terrible idea, but it was his reaction to it which was so awful. And nothing he did, it showed. Apparently, DC figured out very quickly that they screwed up because they quickly wrote another series, which I had no interest in reading, to try to undo what happened here, because clearly this was considered to be in continuity. And it fails on so many levels. I know that the big problem that people seem to have is what he did to Wally West. That was the least of my concerns. Because if you do something to a character like that in the service of a great story, I'm okay with it. This was not in service of a great story. This was in service of a terrible story. So, and I'm not, I'm not that emotionally attached to Wally West. I know a lot of people were happy. It was kind of like the feel-good moment of, was a rebirth or whatever, when Wally West came back. And then Tom King just threw it in the garbage. In my review on Amazon, I described this series as grotesque, because that's how I felt about it. It was grotesque. And I even said that it was the worst series I have ever read since I've been reading comics in the 1970s. It wasn't the dullest. I've read some really, really, really just pointless, vapid, garbage comics that actually sold pretty well. But it was just offensively bad. It was whatever it was trying to do, whether it was trying to help people with mental problems or whatever. But, it's like, I don't think people with mental problems really needed a story where that says, people with mental problems, be careful because they might explode and kill people. Obviously, exploding and killing people is not reality, but maybe someone with mental problems explodes violently in other ways other than a physical emanation of energy. So I have no idea what Tom King was trying to do. What I will tell you is that the artwork in here is fantastic. And what a waste. What a waste of beautiful artwork. I'm not going to open these up because I don't really feel like it. But this was one where I definitely had no interest in buying the hardcover version of it. I tend to always buy the Tom King hardcovers because I like his writing so much. But I don't know who the hell wrote this. It's like Tom King. I mean, I know it was Tom King, but jeez, it's so bad. It is so bad. And I think that what he did to Wally West was the least of the problems in here. Just I think I got to maybe issue 2 and I was like, "Oh boy, we got problems. We've got real problems because this is not working." And I think it was when I figured out that the series was going to focus a lot on Harley Quinn and I like Booster Gold. Booster Gold's a good supporting character, but man, this was bad. This was really bad. Anyway, that's Heroes in Crisis. Um, I've never found another video online that really delved into the plot. I do this because um, I'd love for people to be able to consider it and talk about it, and maybe if you go on Amazon, there's people that give it 5 stars. Loved it. A lot of people. I think it's got like 4.5 stars. So, but I think it was not well regarded, and I can tell you that the reviews, the scores just kept going down and down and down. Because once I think a lot of people were like, well, let's give Tom King a chance, and then they're like, all right, it's irredeemable. This series is a train wreck, and that's what it is. It's an absolute train wreck. Anyway, that's Heroes in Crisis.